Hi, my name is Mrs. Jennifer Travers, and I am your online teacher. I am an in-person and online teacher at Prince Edward Collegiate Institute in Picton, Ontario. I have been teaching these courses for a number of years, and while you may have done a course online before, sometimes the way that I run the course is a little bit different. And so what I've done is created this video as well as emailed you this important document that outlines the points that I'm going to hit in this video. So some things that I would like to go through today are some important details just about online courses for those of you that have already taken one, and just some important details in case you don't want to watch the rest of the video because you feel confident in your knowledge of the VLE. I'm going to talk about some of those details. I'm going to talk about the expectations of you as a student online and working to find your way of engaging with this course. I'm going to review how grades are displayed in the VLE for the assignments that you submit, as well as any reports that are going to be coming out based on your progress. So let's get right into it. One of the things that I wanted you to pay attention to is that when you go into your course, you're actually going to see that there is not much material in content. That's where we're going to find both what I call textbook information that will give you background information to be able to do the assignments. You will notice that it comes out weekly and that I have not released all the information. Let me show you what I mean here. When you log into your course, this is an example. I actually have 4 sections that I am running. So I have a number of different courses. So this may not look exactly like yours and it may not be your course code. However, I wanted to show you that when you first log into the course, you're going to go to the course homepage. And what you're going to see here is all your different options. It's going to have your newsfeed. This is a very important option that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And it's going to have all the other components that you need to have in order to engage in this course. Where you're going to access most of the information is in content. Now, when I click on there, because this is my view, you're going to see a lot more than what your view is. I'm going to show you what your view is in just a minute. So I have all of these different parts. Here's the orientation course that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. And here is your content. These are all of the units that we are going to be looking through. Here's unit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When I click on these, what's going to open up is all the different activities. Now, what you're looking at here is that I closed them down because I gradually release them so that we can focus on specific parts and specific assignments without getting too far ahead of ourselves. It also helps students sort of guide where they've been, but also the new unit that's been released. So let me show you what that looks like for you. And it's going to look very small compared to mine. I'm just going to switch to a student. And this is what your view is going to look at from the very beginning. So after you go through the newsfeed and look at the number of things that we are working on, you're going to go into content to look at the information. You will notice that there's only 2. I'm going to talk about the orientation in just a minute, but if you would like to look at some lessons, some activities that we're going to be working on, when you click on this, you're going to see those units. But when you click on unit number 1, you're only going to see the very first activity that I've released for this week. When you go into unit number 2, it actually doesn't even open. I'm going to have to shape that a little bit. But there's an overview here that you can actually look through. So I just wanted to let you know that there will be more information that is released throughout the course. It will look more like mine as we go through and as I release each of those activities. So just know that what's most important is that when you log in, you come into the newsfeed and that you can actually see, I'll have to make this a little bit smaller. You can actually see what we're supposed to be working on and what content and activity you're supposed to be on. In the next section is when I'm going to be talking about finding your flow of work in terms of what you're supposed to be doing when you first log in. But before I get to that, I'm going to talk about a few important details. If you would like to get in contact with me because you have questions about anything, you are more than welcome to email me anytime. The very first place that I would like you to look at is emailing me right here in the VLE. This helps me keep together the information because it's all in one inbox. However, we are all working at different times, and I'm not always going into the VLE to check that. If you have an important and urgent matter that you would like me to address, you can email me at this address. I also have an apps, which is exclusive to the HPEDSB board, and I can provide you with your email if you would like that, if you don't already have a Google account. That we actually have a Gmail account. I'm going to warn you that it's not preferred that you email me from this address, only because I have a lot going on in that inbox, from my other students to sometimes parents, but also all the PRISM reports and a number of different things. Sometimes emails can get lost, but they don't really get lost in this inbox. So every teacher is different, but I'm going to ask you if you could email me at preferably starting here. If it's really important, you can do both. You can copy and paste that email into this address. You're welcome to add this one on there just to see if I can catch it. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that you can email me anytime, remembering that I get into the office usually around 7:30 and that I'm usually leaving around 3:30. I can answer emails after, but it's kind of sporadic. As I mentioned before, I do have 4 sections of VLE classes. So what I would like you to do is, if you do email me, I would like you to put which VLE course you are enrolled in, just so that it helps me understand and gives me context for what exactly you're asking me. One thing I would like you to think about doing is, within the VLE, you have the ability to create documents and then hand them into the VLE. Right here, I've already set up mine, but you will actually see it's setting up your Google widget. So it allows you access to a Google Drive to be able to hand in your documents. If you are in the HPEDSB, you are highly encouraged to access your email account. Like I said, if you are not in our school board, you have been provided, because you're enrolled in one of our courses, with an email address. So if you don't have a Google account that you would like to log in to be able to access and hand in Google documents or whatever it might be that you need to log in, it'll be a blue button right here and you can log in there. If you don't have a login or a Google account, again, please ask. So at this point, I'm going to talk about finding your flow and how this course somewhat works. For some of you, you may feel very confident in how to navigate through all of this system, but I'm going to encourage you to watch the whole video just to see how I work and how I set up my courses. However, in content, as I mentioned before, there is an orientation course that I would like all students just to go through, just so that you can become familiar with the different ways to work in the VLE, as well as in the news feed. In my video, it's not there quite yet, but there will be a Google form link that is right there, and it's about you, that I would like to have. If you could go into that Google form, click on that link and fill out the information, that would be greatly appreciated. So if you'd like to stay with me, I'm just going to talk about a few key parts that I would like to review in terms of what on earth do I do when I log in? I feel lost. I feel like it's overwhelming. So let's go through. So I'm going to pretend that I am a student and this is my very first day. And I am looking to figure out what exactly I'm going to be doing. So when I log in, one of the things that I would like you to do is, if you see these notifications, it means something new has been posted and a announcement, or maybe you've got a grade back. So you get notifications there. The other thing that I would like you to pay attention to is just checking your emails. So making sure that if you've asked a question, or I might have sent you a concern or something that's going on, that you check your emails. It's really easy to do. You just click on that and then go in there. The next thing you're going to do, this is what's known as the course homepage. So if you ever want to get back to where all the main things are, this is where it is. I post the weekly schedule right here in the news feed, and that's really important to check. So number one, there is an outline of some of the things that need to be done. I always post a calendar, which is right over here. This will be loaded up with due dates once we go through, and I make sure that we're sort of on track for where we want to be and what the due dates are going to be. You can actually check the calendar, and there'll be little blue dots here where there's an assignment due date. You can actually click on that blue dot and see what the assignment is. And even down here, there is, and I'll show you just over here. Now, this was a while ago, so there won't be any blue dots. Let's see if we can go back to, and this was a while ago, so it was probably, there it is. So this is what it might look like when there's a due date, and you can actually click on that and see what the assignment is, and then you can actually click on that. It will actually give you a review of what it is. You can click on that so that you can review what the expectation is for the assignment. So one of the things that you definitely want to do is you go and check the news feed. There's a schedule there that will tell you what content you need to be looking at. You can look at the calendar to see what assignments are there. In addition to that, I sometimes post instructional videos so that you are able to have additional information or guidance in order to do an activity. Sometimes for group work, I will post groups there so that you know who's in your group and you know what exactly you're working on and with whom. So that's why it's really important to check that course home for the news feed, the schedule and dates, and extra support and links. I showed you the calendar that you should check to see what assignments are coming up. And go to any corresponding information. So in this one, it says specifically, this is further on in the course, that we're going to U3A4. That means Unit 3, Activity 4. So when I go into content, because I know what I'm supposed to be reading, or what I'm supposed to be looking at, I'm going to go to Unit 3, Activity 4, and I'm going to click on that information. And now I know where I'm supposed to be. So use that schedule. Figure out the information that you need in order to complete those assignments within the content. There is lots of information. So there's my discussion that I'm going to be doing. There's a video that goes before it to give you some context, and you even have a link to the discussion. These are all the reasons that I want you to check the schedule and the news feed as the very first step in order to know what to do. It's very easy to look at the calendar, click on it, and just get into whatever assignment is due. But that content is really, really important to give you context and information in order to complete those assignments properly. So how do you work on your assignments and how do you finish them? You're welcome to work on them at any time, whatever works best for you. And when you're ready to hand in assignments, there's actually 3 places that I want you to think about. The very first place that you're going to potentially use that is what I just showed you in content. That when you click on content and go into the appropriate unit and activity work, I'm just going to go straight back, Unit 3, Activity 4, that within that content, you actually have links to the assignments and the discussions right in there. So if you were to join a discussion, or if you were to hand in some work, submit your work, you have the boxes right there. What if you're not working within that and you just want to hand in your assignment? The other thing you can do is go right onto calendar. And as I showed you before, again, this calendar isn't set for the right time, but you click on that blue box and it will open up down here. And that's actually a link to your assignment that you can actually use the calendar to link the drop boxes and discussions to be able to go straight into it from there if you can see a due date coming in. So you can hand them in there. The other idea is that you can actually hand them in here. If you have an assignment, you can click on this box, or, and I know it's buried, discussions are there, that if you know that you're handing in an assignment or participating in a discussion, you can just go right there and hand those in. Okay, so those are the 3 places that you can hand things in. And when we get into grades, I'm going to make an additional video here. I will talk about due dates and getting back your grades.